sorry. But I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
My friends, looking around here, I can say with a lot of certainty, we are definitely not machines. And honestly, the problem of other minds be damned. We are all human beings. We're human beings with all of the emotion, the needs, and the embodied values, which are not just optional, but are absolutely integral to building the kinds of worlds that we dream of. Now, I'm going to start things out by framing everything in terms of humanity and community. I'm going to keep this first section a little bit briefer. To start out with, let's orient in terms of three values. I'm going to limb some of what I take to be constitutive connections between these. These are, in turn, decentralization, sovereignty, and privacy. So let's take sovereignty first, as being more or less something like self-governance. So in this case, you ask what would make a decentralized system composed of sovereign individuals. In this case, it would only be if the decision-making within that system was actually a function of the true will and the freely chosen values of those individuals. Now, this is where privacy comes into play. Because the issue is, when you imagine a kind of overarching panopticonic system of centralized authority, it's very hard to be a sovereign actor. In fact, it's very hard to coordinate with anybody at all. The upshot of all this is that sovereignty and respect for human need, human values, really has to be baked in to the very foundation layer of any decentralized system which wishes to be decentralized along all dimensions, not merely the abstract data structure, but also in its relationship in scaffolding the kinds of worlds that we all care about so much. Now, Ethereum's layer 0 is composed of human beings, it's composed of people, and it always has been. What this means is that sovereignty is something which unites all of us. With that in mind, welcome my friend, Mr. Cultmander.
Thank you, my friend. You know, I think I'll be honest. It's the first time I think I've done a joint presentation with someone where English is our first language and I maybe understand half of what they say. But in all seriousness, that's a knock on you, man, not a knock on me, not on you, as I just have so much more to learn.
I appreciate you, man, always. Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I think there's a reason why the two of us specifically, out of a very large and passionate community, decided that we would be speaking in front of all of you today. And it goes back to Cult DAO's 1-year-old birthday. It was on February 1st of this year, as we launched on February 1st of 2022. And what a lot of people may not understand, given just how large and passionate the community is today, is for the first 2 months of the protocol's existence, nobody knew about it. It was very much under the radar. And this may be generous, but maybe there were like 10 to 15 of us that were really trying to push the message because we were just so passionate about it and no one would listen. Then in late March, early April, out of nowhere, we just had thousands and thousands of people joining on a daily basis. I remember it was absolutely insane. You can even go on Twitter and people would start screaming, "First rule of Cult is to talk about Cult," and read the Cult DAO manifesto. I remember it was just nuts. I couldn't even sleep for like 2 weeks straight. But after that time, there were just so many new people joining who needed education and had questions. So there were suggestions from community members that we should organize a way to do that. It was just our first Twitter space. Me and Wastelander volunteered to lead that. And what's interesting is that was our first time using our voice in crypto. So we thought it'd be symbolic that 1 year later, both of us are here speaking again with you all today. Moving from a space of hundreds of different degens to a space of hundreds of regens, whose mission is aligned with the Cult DAO mission, which is to change the world. So for my portion, I'm probably going to spend, we got cut down time here, talking about what is Cult DAO that makes it a decentralized public good, which is designed to fund, socially support, and scale decentralization. Before I do that, there's a couple elephants in the room I think are important to address. The first being the name. So, I'm gonna see a show of hands. Who here thinks the word cult has a negative connotation? Yeah, okay. I think the rest of you are being shy though, because I literally thought the same exact thing before I joined. So let's define what a cult is. A cult can be defined as a group or a movement that's held together by a shared commitment to an ideology or some sort of charismatic leader. And in the case of cults, it's just an ideology that just screams the ethos of why crypto was created in the first place, which is to support and bring freedom and sovereignty to the individual. Other elephant in the room. Gotta click the ticker. What's on our face, right? A little bit weird, right? So the mask, not only does it serve as a mimetic filter that makes it fun, help it go viral. And by the way, we have thousands of these by our booth over in DAO Town, so we encourage you to come pick them up and get some from your family. Now, through the writings of the Cult DAO manifesto, by our benevolent and anonymous founder, Mr. Omodulus, you can glean that he was inspired by a lot of different revolutionary writings and movies, one of which was the movie V for Vendetta. And there's a quote in the manifesto from that movie which states, "Behind this mask, there is more than flesh. Behind this mask, there is an idea. And ideas are bulletproof." So, through its immutable code and unique governance structure, you'll learn that Cult DAO ideas are fuels for the machine. Let's go back to the speech at the beginning for a second. Does anybody know who that was and what movie that was from? Anyone? Yeah, that's right. It was a great dictator. That was Charlie Chaplin. There's a reason why we decided to play that at the beginning. The main reason why we did is because when you first start learning about Cult DAO and you go to the website, it's the very first thing that you hear. So because that was our first experience, we wanted you all to have the same. The other has to do with the fact that how old that movie is. That came out 80 years ago. And it's just absolutely insane how relevant everything they talk about in that movie is still relevant to today. You know, Charlie Chaplin was actually recognized as being one of the most highly critically acclaimed silent movie actors of all time. What's so fascinating is that is the first movie that he speaks in, and it is one of the most critically acclaimed speeches in cinematic history. It's crazy the impact that you can have when you give a voice to the voiceless. Let's talk a bit more about Cult DAO and the manifesto. When you read the Cult DAO manifesto, you'll notice it might seem like a white paper, except it's actually written like a manifesto. You notice the feels of OG Bitcoin in terms of the importance of sovereignty and OG Ethereum in terms of the importance of modularity. And within the crypto space today, you kind of see this battle between, and recognize there's a spectrum between being monolithic and being modular. And you know, when I think monolithic, I think of oftentimes it's centralization, maybe requires a lot of VC funding. And you know, while there might be a place for that in society, it is limiting the ability for the individual to choose. And so when I think about OG Ethereum being founded on modularity, taking decentralization, maximalization to its core, right, giving the freedom, true freedom of expression and choice to the individual, or let's say the many, to allow them to do what they will. Cult DAO solves this with a fairly simplistic governance structure that I haven't really seen much else in crypto. You just have two roles in the DAO. They're up there on their screen. You have the guardians, and then you have the many. The guardians are simply the top 50 stakers of the Cult DAO token. But because of their overweight of tokens and potential voting power, they can't vote. They do have the ability to put up proposals, but it's the many. Everyone outside of the top 50, they're the ones who have the true voting power, right, giving a voice to the voiceless. Now, Cult DAO has really since expanded, since it first launched. You know, we were designed to fund and empower those building our decentralized future, and we've done a ton of things. We've invested over $2 million since we founded it over a year ago into revolutionary protocols. And the ecosystem has expanded to include other things, which we don't have time to talk about, Revolt to Earn and the rug game. And by the way, the rug game is exactly as it sounds. It is a game that will rug pull you, and it's absolutely brilliant and uses Moloch for good. I encourage you to learn more about it. But for now, I'm going to pass it on to Wastelander to talk about something I'm super excited about, which is coming very soon. We're on the frontier of Ethereum being the settlement layer, and layer 2 is helping with scalability of Ethereum and lowering gas fees. Cult DAO is building its own blockchain, a ZK EVM layer 2, with its own unique competitive advantages. I'll pass it on to you to talk more about it. Thanks, man.
So, as my friend Mr. Cultmander mentioned, ZK EVM Modulus is it's a layer 2 scaling solution which has a number of competitive advantages, only two of which I'm going to speak to at the moment. The first is that it is being built with zero VC funding. So this is pretty fantastic, especially when you think of the status quo. What it allows for is that users and builders who choose to build and construct the lives that they want to on Modulus in Web3 are not starting out at a vastly asymmetric disadvantage in terms of token distribution to venture capital firms. Now, the second feature I want to emphasize, which is on the same vein, is giving power to the people, literally, is that on Modulus, and I believe this is extremely unique, building and transacting will be able to take place as you desire, as you choose, either transparently or, if you'd like, under the guise of privacy, right? So this is really optimizing for sovereignty, for freedom of choice. We did just have the logo competition, And a lot of you will be seeing this for the first time. This is the Modulus logo. To sum up this last section, because we're so short on time, I want to tie a thread between ZK-EVM Modulus, Cult DAO, Revolt to Earn, and the Rug Game. This is, in essence, a modular suite of decentralization enhancing protocols, which are designed in order to cater to not centralized powers, but the choices and will of people who otherwise might always be at a disadvantage when it comes to trying to build on, for example, a zero-knowledge protocol. Now, I want to close with a quote, but before I say that, I want to acknowledge that Bitcoin crypto was founded under the ethos of what is called agorism. It was founded in order to be able to lift people up in terms of sovereignty, to be able to lift people up in terms of the choices that we're not always able to live according to. My quote at the end, slightly modified. It's based on something that the activist Ursula Le Guin said some time ago. My friends, there are some things you cannot buy. In fact, all the technical genius in the world, some things this cannot build. My friends, in the end, there are some things we can only be. What this comes to is that you can only be the revolution. Thank you all.
And I'll close off by saying, as a reminder, Cult DAO is a decentralized public good whose mission is to fund, socially support, and scale decentralization. And it's a public good, it's modular, anyone could use it, and you could have people that could use it for the best of intentions, and you could also have people that do it for the worst. Right? That's how that public good and modularity works. And that's the beauty and the beast of decentralization. And so my call to action for all of you is for those of you who are in the audience that have ideas, revolutionary ideas, we want to hear them, and we'd love for you to join us. Because as we mentioned in the beginning, Cult DAO functions on ideas, and ideas are bulletproof. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you all.